Hello, folks. Here we are again, and here's Sophie. She decided she would visit with us today. How are you, Sophie, today? Are you any better than you were? Yes. Oh, you can speak. Yes. Well, isn't that wonderful? So, you didn't tell me. No. Wanted to keep it a secret? Yes. Okay. Well, say hi to all the little girls and boys up there and the big girls and boys. Hi. Okay. So you must be quiet now while we get on with the story. And today the story is about me. Yes, my very first visit to a vineyard, which thrilled me all to pieces. I was invited to come out to British Columbia, where my friends had moved to, and I did. It was in the fall of the year, and it was a lovely fall, but the grapes had been picked, and the harvest was pretty well over. But the folks in the area usually left grapes on the vine for those who could not afford it or wanted grapes, and to come and glean the vineyard. And it was amazing how much grapes they found. Anyway, my friend said one evening, would you want to go gleaning some grapes with me? And I said, sure. And off we went. So we went to the first vineyard, and it was beautiful. It was on the side of a hill. The sun was shining on it, and the leaves were glistening in the sunshine, and it was just so peaceful. The birds were singing, and there was the lake, and there was the clouds, and then in the distance the snow-covered mountains. It was just a heavenly scene to look at, and lifted the spirits. And so we got to the top of the hill, and we had a wheelbarrow, and then we started to go along the road, and we'd look under the leaves and so forth, and find the grapes, bunches of grapes that were left there. And as I walked along, suddenly some light glistened off a big bunch of grapes, and my heart just thrilled to see grapes hanging on the vine for the first time, and to be in the vineyard for the first time, and of course for the view that I was seeing for the first time. And also reminded me of all the things I read about the Lord and His life on this earth and the vineyards where He lived. And brought me a little closer to Him in my spirit, and I was pretty happy. And so my friend was going along the line next to me, and she would glean and then cut the grapes off the vine, while I just pulled mine off. They were just ready to fall off, and two bunches of grapes, and my hands were full, so I would have to go to the wheelbarrow and put them in the wheelbarrow. So we did that for quite a while, and we finally filled the wheelbarrow. And in my mind, I was thinking all the time, too, about where Jesus lived, and if the people gleaned grapes. I knew from studying that they gleaned wheat in the fields. And this sort of made me feel connected to his life and the life of the people there at that time. And so we took the grapes down to the car and put them in a box, and then we went back up the hill to finish up the vineyard, the gleaning. And as we was coming down again, suddenly we came upon a huge bunch of grapes on the ground, and they were just glistening in the sun, and just a beautiful jewel blue, like little marbles, beautiful blue color in the sunlight. But right in the middle of the bunch was a great big footprint. And I said to my friend, oh, some worker spilled the grapes, and he wasn't a very good worker to be so careless with his master's truss and in his master's vineyard and his master's goods. And she said, well, yes, sometimes that happened, but she said they don't usually pick it up. They just go along and fill the wheelbarrow again. And I wondered why such a thing would happen, how such a thing could happen, because the land was not rough or anything like that. It was sandy, but, So I wondered if the worker had spilled it deliberately or if it was an accident, but then it sort of left my mind as we continued down the hill and back up another 2 rows and down another 2 rows, And as we worked, the light was getting, of course, lower and lower. The sun was setting behind the mountains in the west, and the light was shining on the mountains towards the east, and it was beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. And the sky was sort of a robin's egg blue, and there was some tints of pink in the sky. And of course, being interested in art at the time myself, I was seeing all these colors as I worked. And finally we finished up there, and then my friend said, would you like to go to another vineyard and we'll see if we can get some more grapes? And I said, okay. So we got in the car and off we went to another area which was duller and more down in the valley, and the light wasn't hitting there, and it was drab and lonely and empty, and just didn't gladden the heart. And as I started down one row, I started to look for grapes, and suddenly I realized that the leaves were all dried up and the vines were drying up, and the grapes that were on the vines were all dried up, ready to fall on the ground, and they were just all wrinkled and dead, actually, would be the word to use. There was no life in them at all, no juice, no blood in the grapes whatsoever. And everything was drying up. And the vineyard looked absolutely deserted and neglected, either by the workers of the master or else the master himself. There was no care taken of the vineyard whatsoever. It looked desolate. There was wild grass growing everywhere among the vines, and you just couldn't barely get through the grass and stuff like that. And so my friend said, well, I guess we should leave. There's nothing here, and there may be some dangerous little animals in the grass that we wouldn't want to step on, because in this area they do have dangerous animals that crawl around in the grass. And so we left, and as we left I said to her, that the world is the Father's vineyard, and we are the caretakers. We are the workers in the vineyard, and we're not doing a very good job, are we? Because there's so much need in the vineyard, so much to be done. And she agreed, and she said, well, we can only do so much. And I said, that's true. But then I said, Jesus came, and he gave his life for the vineyard and all in it on Calvary. And his life's blood then went into everything in the decaying, dying vineyard of the world, and brought it back to life, took it away from death, took it away from all things that's not nice. And she agreed with that, and as we drove home, and then I said, actually he is the true vine. He is the vine of the vineyard, and the Father is the master of the vineyard, and we are the grapes of the vineyard. And he said, yes, that's true enough too. And so then we got home, and she started to clean the grapes, and I helped her. And she put them in a huge pot on the stove, and there was a tap-like thing on the pot, and she started to boil the grapes. And I was eager to see what the grape juice would look like when it came out of the pot. And after a while it was ready to be tested, and she had a bowl in her hand, and she said to me, "Look how it looks like when it comes out after it's being boiled and worked with." And so she turned the tap, and there gushed out blood red juice, just blood red, into the bowl. And in my heart I thought, just like Jesus' blood did on Calvary when he gave his life for the grapes of the vineyard that was being destroyed by neglect and hate and lack of love. He gave his blood to feed the vineyard, to cleanse it, to heal it. And even though today we still have problems, that blood is still working in each and every one of us, no matter who we are. We are all his children, every one of us. We were all given life for a purpose. And of course the decision to drink of the vine, the fruit of the vine, is all up to us also. So that experience in the vineyard for me was a very, very, very strong one, and has stayed with me to this day. And I'm glad that I visited that vineyard for the first time, though we know today that things could be better. The Father never lets us have an experience unless he's preparing us to do something in the vineyard. And I have had that experience for a fact. Someday I'll tell you about how I lost my vision, my sight, and how it was returned, and how I went after that and worked with blind and visually handicapped people. And I tell you now, if I had not have had the experience myself, I would not have been able to understand the agony, the fear, the loneliness these people felt. I would not have been able to help. I would not have been able to do the work in the cold, the long miles, the loneliness, the empty motel rooms, the empty highways for miles and miles. So the experience of the vineyard was for me a lesson to tell me that he would be in the work I was doing, that I must be a good keeper of the vineyard. I did my best. We all do our best, each and every one of us, because with his help, that's all he asks us, that we do our best. And he finishes it up and makes it perfect with his blood in Calvary. Thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me share this with you. And thank you for listening while Sophie got her voice back. Right, Sophie? Okay, we'll say bye now and upload this because it does take some time. And I understand that because there's a lot of people uploading on YouTube, right? Yes, and YouTube is a tremendous place. There's a lot of wonderful things on YouTube. And someday their little boys and girls will be looking at you on YouTube. So, give a kiss. There. Okay, bye. Say bye. Bye. Okay. Bye, friends.